Since last night, going through it in my head, I'm going, what I've been studying, Lord, I don't want to preach. What I've been studying and considering and contemplating, I don't want to preach. I don't have the authority to come from a place and preach that. And he said, you're right, you don't. You're preaching for me. So today, my nerves have been shot. I don't normally I'm not so nervous. So, well, I shouldn't say that. The first time I preached, we went 10 minutes, 15 minutes at top, and I was pretty nervous. And when I preached one time down at Hopeway Baptist Church, I was very nervous. There's something different about going, okay, I'm now comfortable here. I'm comfortable in front of these people, but now you're somewhere else, and everything is different. If you would open your Bibles to the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. I forgot to tell you that before I started telling you. Oh, I was going to tell you a joke, but nobody asked me a question that I needed to lead up to that joke. And that is, nobody asked me where my wife was today. And she didn't come because she doesn't like listening to me. But no, that's not true. She's down in the nursery. But nobody asked me that, so I had to lead in for myself, and that's just not quite right. So Ecclesiastes chapter 1, we'll start in verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? Vanity. What is vanity? Vanity is emptiness, empty pleasure, fruitless desire. Here in Ecclesiastes 1, Solomon is telling us that it's all emptiness. It is all vanity. Going further and even stating that it's not only vanity, but it's a pile of emptiness upon emptiness. In verse 3, he says, nothing we do has profit. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? Now, I don't know about you, but I have felt this way at times. I have felt this emptiness and heart-wrenching nothingness. I've looked around at everything I'm trying to accomplish in this life and wondered, what's the point? Why should I work so hard and absolutely nothing comes from my effort? And here we have King Solomon, a man who had ever so much more than I could ever dream of having in this life. In the same place, thinking and saying the same thing, that it's nothingness, it's emptiness, that everything is vanity. Society lies. Society tells us that what we really need to be happy is knowledge. When you finish primary school, society tells you that you need to go to secondary school. When you finish secondary school, society tells you need to attend college or university. And you just have to have knowledge and more knowledge and more knowledge to be happy. Let's look in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and start in verse 12. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Here in Ecclesiastes, we see Solomon is seeking fulfillment and purpose to his life. He's trying to find something that is not vanity. He's trying to find that fulfillment, something that's not empty. So think about this for a moment. In 1 Kings 3, we learn that Solomon, according to God, has been given a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall arise like unto thee. Solomon, the wisest man to ever walk on the earth. So we cannot attain the knowledge or wisdom of Solomon on this earth. That Solomon, in what we just read, tells us that it's all vanity. So when we try to seek knowledge, when that's all we try to do is seek that knowledge, I'm going to find that knowledge, I'm going to find that knowledge, I'm going to find that wisdom, I'm going to find it. I'm going to go to school, I'm going to learn everything that I can learn. Vanity. It's emptiness. Society says to seek learning and knowledge, and that will make you happy. That will make you fulfilled. But the wisest and most knowledgeable man to ever walk this earth says in verse 18 that knowledge only increases sorrow. The more knowledge you gain, the more wisdom you gain, the more you realize that it's all pointless, that it's all empty. That everything that man does is vanity, empty, and futile. Society lies. Society will tell you, I should have paused a little bit. Excuse me. Society lies. So society will tell you what to do, what you want. To live life to the fullest, indulge yourself in all that life has to offer, and there you will find fulfillment. So let's read chapter 2 of Ecclesiastes, starting in chapter 2, verse 1. I said in mine heart, go to now. I will prove thee with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also is vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of mirth, what doeth it? I sought in mine heart to give myself unto wine. So now Solomon is looking for something else. He's tried the wisdom and the knowledge, and it didn't fulfill him. So now he's looking for something else. So he goes, I'm going to indulge myself in whatever I want. So I'm going to indulge my flesh with everything that it could ever want, and I'm going to find my fulfillment there. I want to sleep in, I'm sleeping in. I don't want to work, I'm not going to work. I'm going to play all day. I don't want to think about anything. I just want to have fun. I don't want to go to school. I just want to do what I want to do all the time. I'm not going to listen to my parents. I'm not going to listen to my teachers. I'm not going to listen to my elders. I'm not going to listen to my pastor. I'm not going to listen to God. Everything that I want, I get. But behold, this also is vanity. Oh man, society will tell you, man, you just have to live your best life. We hear this all the time. Best life, you just need to live your best life. And that's what I'm out here trying to do, you know. It's my best life. Your best life without God is this life. And I'm going to say that again. Your best life without God is this life. And look around you. Look around us in our society. There's pain and suffering. There's heartache, sickness, disease, death. And this is the best life you will ever have without God. There is no fulfillment in the pleasures of the flesh. It is all vanity, empty, and futile. So Solomon has looked at these things. He's looked at his knowledge. He's looked at his wisdom. Now he's looked at this and he's given himself over to indulgence, and he still hasn't found that fulfillment. So he's going to go a little bit further. And so Solomon looks outside of himself. I'm going to try to find this fulfillment that I'm looking for outside of myself. So we're in chapter 2, we're in verse 4. And he said, I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and orchards. And I planted trees in them of all kinds of fruits. I made me pools of water to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth trees. I got me servants and maidens, and had servants born in my house. Also, I had great possessions of great and small cattle, above all that were in Jerusalem before me. I gather me also silver and gold, and the peculiar treasure of kings and of the provinces. I gat me men singers and women singers, and the delights of the sons of men, as musical instruments, and that of all sorts. So I was great, and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. And whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. Solomon has tried to find that fulfillment through knowledge. He has tried to find that fulfillment through living his best life, and something is still missing. So he starts building things. He accumulates untold wealth. His fame goes throughout the known world. Kings and queens from all over the world, from distant places, come to Jerusalem to learn from him, to bring him gifts and see the wonders that he has created. Can I step out on a limb here and suggest that no one in this room has ever created something that kings and queens from around the world come to seek you out and want to meet you because of this incredible thing that you did? I'll even go one step further. And can I say that even if your name was Trump and you built extravagant buildings and hotels and these gorgeous places, that you would not have the fame or wealth of Solomon. Solomon has everything. I mean, when you think about who Solomon was, and you look at how much he had the wealth that we cannot even dream of attaining. It is incredible how much God blessed him with. And yet, he was still seeking that fulfillment. Everything he tried could not provide that. And there's a point here that, if we tried as best as we could to gather wealth, we're not going to gather as much as Solomon had. If we do our very best to gather all the knowledge and wisdom that we can, we're not going to make it to where Solomon did. So you have here this human being who, as far as the worldly pursuits that we know of, the knowledge, the wealth, the pleasures of the flesh, this is the guy that he's done everything that you can imagine. He held nothing back from himself. If he wanted to do it, he did it. If his eyes looked at it and he went, yes, that's what I want. Yes, this is what I want. But it never fulfilled him. Never. He never got that peace that he was looking for. Everything he tried to do did not provide fulfillment. And Solomon did it better than we ever could, and it still wasn't enough without God. It still wasn't enough without God. As a believer, I can look and I can say, I've got God in my life. And I'm doing things with God. So I'm not faced with what Solomon is faced here. I have God in my life. I have chosen to serve God. I'm working toward his goal. So for me, everything is not vanity. But the world reigns on us. The world pushes us. The world bombards us with this every day that doesn't matter and nothing matters. And there's this futility that you get to feeling. And I don't know if I'm only speaking for myself, but there's times even in our Christian lives when we're looking at it and going, I have tried everything. I have done everything, and it just seems so futile. It doesn't seem to matter. I'm trying to make a difference in, this person's life, and I'm trying to show them the love of Christ and trying to help them to be a better person. And then you watch them make the same mistake over and over. You watch them make that same choice, and you're like, and it's just so disheartening, and it takes you to this place of, Lord, why? Why? It's so futile. Why do I have to go through this? Why? And you look and then as we get older, things start to hurt. And it starts to hurt. It starts to hurt to get up in the morning. It starts to hurt to lay down. I mean, it hurts to lay down. That doesn't help. Like, what are you going to do? It hurts to stand up. It hurts to lay down. It hurts to sit. And you're just in pain. It feels like it all the time at times, And you're like, this is why? Why do I have to do this, Lord? Why am I still here at this point? And there's a point here that is the opposite of what we just looked at in Ecclesiastes with Solomon. He did all of those things without God, and they were futile. And when we try to do things, and we do things, if we do them with God, it's never futile. It's never futile. When we provide that example to that individual, and they make that bad choice, they make that poor decision, and it's disheartening to you, you may not see the fruit down here. We may not see the fruit here, but there is fruit. There is a reward. If you turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. First Corinthians chapter 3, starting in verse 13. Every man's work shall be made manifest. For the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. And if any man's work abide, which he hath built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. While we struggle through this life, while we struggle to provide these examples, while we struggle to do those things, it is not vanity. It is not futile, because as long as we are doing it with God, as long as we are doing it for God, it is never futile. It is never vanity. We all struggle with this. I don't think I speak for only myself. I struggle with this more than I would like to admit. And it's very, very hard. And it's interesting because when I opened up my Bible to Ecclesiastes the other day, and I started reading, and I don't know why, Ecclesiastes was just the book that opened. And I'm reading it and going, this is not what I need to hear right now. I'm in this place where I think everything is vanity and futile, and why am I even trying? And Lord, I'm ready to go home. Just take me home. I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then Ecclesiastes, and you're reading, and it's like, this is not what I want to hear right now, Lord. This isn't it. But you keep reading. And you keep listening. And all of a sudden, it's not necessarily what you initially think it is. Without God, it's vanity. With God, Nothing is ever. Everything that we do has a purpose when we do it with God. The Matthew chapter 6. If you want to flip over to Matthew chapter 6. I'm going to be done way earlier than I thought. I spoke a lot faster. Those nerves got in there again. Not too long ago, I preached a message up in Aguilar, and I only had 1,000 words, and I was going, oh boy, this isn't going to be long at all. And then I went for an hour and 15 minutes off 1,000 words. So I went, okay, well, I have 1,500 words tonight, and we've barely been 25. So guess you can't really tell. But when you're nervous, things go faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over. and I'm going to read it. I'm going to go a little slower this time. No. Matthew 6, chapter 6, verse 19 says, "Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Everything that we do, we need to do for God. Because if you do it for something down here, if you listen to what society tells you, it says, hey, get it. You got to get it. Turn on the TV right now. Turn on the radio right now. And it's going to tell you, you want this. You want that. That's really good. You will love that. You want that. But what is it? It's nothing. It's vanity. Unless it's what God wants you to have. But I don't know how many times you turn on the TV and the advertisement is for something you think God would actually want you to have. But the society says, hey, this is what you want. Pile it up, man. Pile it up. You want everything that you can get. Everything that you can get. How many storage facilities are there all over this country? This little town has 7 or 8? And you call them around and they don't have any room. It's because everybody's got to get it. And I'm guilty of this too. I've got a shop that's full of stuff. I don't need it. But it's full of it. It's there. What are we doing? We're just gathering it. It doesn't have any purpose. But society says we got to have it. I want that new car. And I do. I want that new car. I'll admit it. But what does it do? All the treasures that society tells you that you need here on this earth, you can pile them up, you can do it. It's for nothing. It's vanity. It's nothing. You don't get to keep it. It gets put in the fire, and only what's done for Christ will last. That's all that's left. Everything that we do. So from the time we get up in the morning to the time we lay down at night, what are we doing for Christ? What are we doing for Christ? When you get up and you go to your job, what are you doing for Christ? I get convicted on myself very much. I will tell you. I sit at work and go, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But everybody there knows I'm a Christian. And if I'm lazy there, what does that say about my God? What does that say about my Lord and Savior? So I get convicted. Come on, I don't want to do that. So what are you doing for Christ? Are you storing up treasures in heaven? Or are you storing up treasures down here? Are you building that wealth? Are you building that wealth that when the fire gets set to it, it's going to be gone and you're going to have nothing left? I believe it is there in Corinthians that Paul says it'll all be burnt up. You'll still be saved, but you'll have everything lost. Because everything that you sought, everything that you struggled for, everything that you fought for was for nothing. You think about that again, that getting old and everything hurts, and you get up in the morning and it hurts. Why not make that hurt worth something? Make that hurt worth something by doing it for God. Struggle through for God. What's awesome is that we can struggle through, and as believers, we can know that God's not going to leave us. We can struggle through and earn those treasures in heaven, and God's just not going to leave us by the side of the road. We're not going to be traveling down the road and going through this difficult time and facing these unsurmountable odds. I think, was it this morning that you mentioned a pastor saying if you want to see God do impossible things, you have to be ready to be in impossible situations. And that's very spot on. You're just like, wow. It's the same. It's the same. If you would, go ahead and let's stand, and we'll turn it over to you.